This is a seriously important update for every American in Europe or anyone who knows an American in Europe. I certainly know some people in Europe right now. They're Americans, and I am advising my friends to get back ASAP, which is also, there's a challenge here in that, you know, when the coronavirus stuff broke out and we started pulling people out of quarantine, I was saying that it was probably a bad idea to bring people from quarantine to the United States. The difference now is many of these people in Europe are probably not, sick, maybe not infected, but the challenge now, how we effectively deal with this. How do we protect American citizens? Hopefully these countries can protect their citizens. But Trump is contradicting Mike Pence, and he's saying Americans will not be allowed back in the U.S. if they test positive, as the Fed pumps $1.5 trillion into markets to steady the economy. We are looking at a major market drop-off, not a crash necessarily yet. As of right now, we are down 1,995.83, 8.47%. And we are looking at a similar percentage drop-off like we saw during the Great Recession back in 2008. We can see that there were drops of around 7%, 13, 15. So we're in the 7 to 8% territory right now. All in all, from October 9th, 2007 to March 9th, the market fell 54.1%, a major drop off. But keep this in mind. It fell down 54%. It rose to 29,000 up until the coronavirus thing happened. So I think it's fair to say a lot of people are going to get rich very, very quickly, but no one knows where the bottom is. And I'm not a financial expert, but I'll tell you this. If I had a retirement account set up in this stuff, which I don't, I wouldn't do anything. I was reading some advice saying don't do anything. Just leave it alone because it will recover. We will get through this. We're humans and we are resilient. But if you know somebody in Europe, they need to come back now. At least that's my advice. If you're in Europe, turn around, man. On Friday, it's over. They're not going to be allowing people from Europe into the country, and Americans are going to be screened at one of, several different airports. They're going to be scuttled off to specific areas with quarantines set up. They're taking this seriously. The Daily Mail reports President Trump raised fresh questions surrounding his response to the coronavirus on Thursday by saying that Americans in Europe will be tested before they are allowed to board flights, and they will not be allowed to come home if they test positive. A direct contradiction of Mike Pence's claims hours earlier that all Americans can come home regardless of their condition. I don't know if Trump can actually do this. That might be a violation of the Constitution, but Trump is the commander in chief, and there may be under emergency powers the ability to do this. I don't know. It sounds like it might be unconstitutional to me to deny someone access to the country if they're a citizen. I could be very wrong about this. I guess we'll see. The shocking announcement came after Trump's decision to halt all travel from Europe to the U.S. for 30 days, starting from Friday at midnight, apart from the UK, because he said it doesn't have much infection. There were 596 cases of the virus in the UK. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal is with the UK thing, but it may have to do with Brexit, keeping trade lines open. But all that really matters is you can speculate for whatever reason why the UK is remaining open. And all you can really say is it's not the most brutal crackdown. It's a Schengen zone crackdown, and the UK is open. Sure, whatever. During a press conference with the Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar in the Oval Office, Trump said, "We are not putting them on planes if they test positive. It is going to be a pretty strong enforcement of the quarantine." He did not explain which tests would be used or where the diagnosed cases would then be treated overseas. It was a direct contradiction to what Pence said. We get it. Foreign nationals or visa holders without permanent residency will not be allowed back in the U.S. from Friday at midnight, aside from people in the UK and Ireland, which has been exempt from the ban. White House expert Dr. Anthony Fauci suggested on Thursday that it was because 70% of the cases seen in the U.S. could be traced back to continental Europe and not the Isles of the UK and Ireland, a fact that is yet to be proven. Now, what's really funny is they keep using what Fauci says to smear Trump, but as soon as he says something that agrees with Trump, they say, oh, well, that's not proven. Many of the known cases in the U.S. have had no travel nexus to any of the known coronavirus hotspots in Europe, a fact that is worrying local and state officials as efforts to contain the spread in the U.S. ramp up. Pence offered no context or information about the funnel airports on Thursday as he revealed that there were returning that was where that was where returning U.S. citizens would be sent. But they are thought to be the 11 bases that were set up to cope with returning passengers from China in February, plus 2 more. There has also been no answer to questions over the type of planes the returning passengers will travel on. When the U.S. brought citizens home from Wuhan in February at the onset of the outbreak, they were put on charter flights, but there are no doubt countless more U.S. citizens currently in the whole of continental Europe than there were in Wuhan when the virus erupted, and airlines are pulling their flights to the U.S. by the second as a result of the looming ban. Right, they're going to lose a lot of money from this, so they're canceling. The 13 airports were set up to be able to house hundreds, if not thousands, of in quarantined conditions after the outbreak in China. They are Honolulu, Chicago, Dallas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Atlanta, JFK in New York, Seattle, Washington, D.C., Newark, and Detroit. The two new ones have not yet been announced. Pence repeated previous claims that the government had asked private labs, including LabCorp and Quest Diagnostics, to speed up the production of their tests after a wave of criticism over how long the CDC was taking to get theirs off the ground. But he failed to address some key specifics, including how or if the ban will impact trade and imports from Europe, or how many people will likely become infected in America, despite the drastic new measures. Yes, that's what journalists should be doing, ask these questions. World health officials have already undermined Trump's plans. They say it will not stop the virus from spreading, and that the administration should be focusing its efforts on the healthcare system, which will likely buckle under the strain of the pandemic if it reaches the proportions seen in China and Italy. To date, 1,364 people in America have been infected with the virus and 39 have died from it. Pence's revelation that Americans coming back from Europe would be funneled through one of 13 airports came during his appearance on Fox and Friends. He had already appeared on Good Morning America, Today, and CNN by the time he spoke, but had failed to answer many of the resounding questions which surround yesterday's announcement. Every American that is returning from Europe will be screened as they return through 13 separate airports and will be asked to self-quarantine for 14 days. It's part of the president's strategy, he said. Asked specifically about families with kids overseas, he went on, I've had kids that have studied abroad as well. We can see here that the number of cases are absolutely spreading. 1,364 in the U.S. now, almost every state. It seems like in the past day or so, the number has slowed down a little bit. But over the past several days, we have seen the doubling of cases over, every 2 days. So let's jump down. In an earlier appearance on Good Morning America, he said there had been some irresponsible rhetoric around the topic, but insisted Trump was taking it seriously. The American people should know that President Trump has no higher priority than the health and safety and well-being of the people in this country. We have all known from the beginning that the coronavirus would continue to spread across the country. It's one of the reasons President Trump took decisive action to put the health of the American people first, not only declaring a public health emergency in January, but that same month suspending all travel from China and quarantining everyone returning from the region. Since then, we've issued travel advisories to Italy, South Korea, but frankly, as we watched the epicenter of the coronavirus shift from China and South Korea to Europe, the president thought it was proper for us to impose a 30-day suspension on all travel from continental Europe. I have to say, I think it will get worse in Europe. Now, it's possible things taper off like they did in China, depending on the measures that they introduce. But one of the things that's being pushed out by experts is that social distancing efforts are going to reduce the amount of cases, but as soon as those are lifted, the cases will spike again. They're hoping that this will alleviate the infection rate so that it doesn't overwhelm the healthcare system. I can't tell you what to expect. What I can say is we are witnessing right now a major market hit. So we can see the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 8.47%, which is serious. It's I believe it's the biggest drop in history, not percentage-wise, but points-wise. And as I showed you earlier in the segment, this is what we're looking at here is the Great Recession. We can see that from January to October of 2007, there was a 13% gain. I'm sure a lot of people who got out at that point were very, very happy because following this into January of next year, it fell 7%. Then to June, 13. Then November, 15. And it just dropped down from a high of 14 to a low of 7,000. That's absolutely insane. This says it dropped. Is it negative 7? Do they mean it dropped 7,000 points? Oh, whoa. No, it dropped from peak to bottom. Wow. It was seriously bad for the market. Now, I don't know much about markets to be able to predict anything for you. I can't tell you. What I can say is I don't know if Trump is going to be absolutely, if this is legit, Trump is saying people are going to be screened in Europe. They're not going to be allowed back in. My only advice is get back soon. But for those in the U.S., this means the expansion of the coronavirus is likely to get worse. And if you haven't prepared for it, I don't know what to tell you, man. I hope you got your laughs in when I was telling people to order some emergency food, buy food and water, and get prepared. Because now we're entering some seriously, scary territory. I'm in New Jersey. I'm in the Philly suburbs. And the governor recently announced a ban on all events of 250 people or more. So we're living in it. The lockdown is here. We are in soft quarantine. How long until the hard quarantine hits like China? I don't know. A month? Because China went from December to January, February, hard quarantine. And that's when they got things under wraps. But experts are saying as soon as China lifts these restrictions, the infection rate will go back up again. I think it's only a matter of time before the rest of us are under a hard quarantine. But I'll leave it there. Stay safe. Stick around. I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 a.m.